You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
It is Wednesday morning, October 23rd. It was a bike ride in this morning, I gather.
It was. Yeah. It was like 45-ish now, and it's going to be like 75 later, so it's fine. I know what coffee I'm drinking now.
What coffee are you drinking today?
I believe it's Peru. I had to text my husband because he made it for me.
I was graciously reminded by a host of Concord Matters, Pastor Sean Smith, yesterday, that everyone is waiting, eager to know what kind of coffee Sarah's drinking, and I have not asked recently. So there you are, Smith family.
It's
Sarah's
Peru.
having
I'm pretty sure.
Coffee from Peru.
It could be Honduras, but I'm pretty sure it's Peru.
Good topics on deck today. Excited to share two good stories. We're going to get an update on hymnal projects with Deaconess Sandra Rhein, and we're going to visit with our friends from Lutheran Church Extension Fund as well. We get to talk with Pastor Billy Brath about ministry support with Lutheran Church Extension Fund. Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting the Coffee Hour. We are so grateful for your support. You can find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
Joining us by phone this morning, Deaconess Sandra Rhein. Good morning.
Good morning, Andy and Sarah.
Always a joy to talk with you about one of our favorite things, and that is hymns.
Hymns.
We love talking about hymns. And you have one of the most unique and also probably challenging and
dream job.
fun jobs. It sounds fun to us. I'm sure it's grueling on your end, but it sounds really neat. Sounds really cool. You get to help develop hymnals in other languages and translating hymns and all kinds of fantastic work that we love. So give us an update on some of the projects you've been working on, things that are completed, things that are in the works.
Yes, absolutely. And it is a wonderful job. It's a blessing to get to do this. So the biggest update is that the hymnal for Ethiopia in Amharic is being printed right now in Ethiopia, and I am leaving on Sunday to travel there because on Reformation Day we will be dedicating that hymnal.
That is so exciting.
Thanks be to God. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very excited about that. A couple of side projects that we've just been finishing up with that. One is an audio recording of all of the new hymns. There are 26 hymns that have been translated into Amharic for the first time. And so we're making an audio recording. A church musician in Addis Ababa is using his choir, and they are making a recording of all of the new hymns. It will be available MP3 or with flash drives. We bought like 200 flash drives so that we can hand that out as they are doing the training. And we're also publishing a small pastor's booklet that has very detailed rubrics for the pastors because the divine service has some new things in it, some that they're not quite used to, and it's just another chance to catechize on how to conduct a service.
Yeah. Oh, this is so exciting. All of this good stuff happening in Ethiopia. And I want a copy, even though I can't read Amharic, I really would just want a copy of it because it's so cool.
Just to see it, right?
Yeah. Well, we have a few families from Ethiopia at our church right now. As they're going to the seminary, and that I would love to give them one. I'm sure they probably are already getting one. What does this mean for the people in Ethiopia that speak Amharic? What does this mean to have this hymnal and audio recording now?
Well, they have had hymnals in the past. However, what they have as a hymnal is a collection of song texts. It has only songs and only the words of them. So that was one of the challenges for us because we wanted to put melodies of all of the hymns actually in the book. And it was quite interesting as people would say, we want this hymn, we want this one in the book. And okay, do you know the melody? Well, I don't know the melody of it. But they didn't know it well enough to sing it for me, and they couldn't find it they don't really have access to books so much. So it was quite a challenge to find tunes for the melodies, but we only included songs for which we did have tunes, because that also is a way to preserve those tunes. And then also it has the orders for Sunday morning worship with and without communion, and matins and vespers, and those are things that the people have never seen in a book.
Wow.
That's exciting, and much thanks be to God for that. That's just thrilling to get to hear that. Okay, so that's happening in Ethiopia. Let's head to Asia. What are some of the projects happening in Asia? Okay,
so one that has seen some good progress this year is the one in Chinese, in Mandarin. And there, as we were working on that project, we often had pastors coming to us saying, while we understand you're working on a hymnal, we understand it takes some years to do. In the meantime, could you just get us the order of service for the Holy Communion service so that we can begin teaching that to the people? And, what a lovely request. We certainly don't want to ignore that. So what we ended up doing is putting together a test booklet. It's about the size of, if you remember the HS 98, that hymnal supplement from 20 years ago. It's about that size. So it has Holy Communion service and also matins and vespers and 65 hymns, lectionary, a few other things, and like 20 psalms, enough so that they can actually use it for a service. And that book was printed earlier this year. It came out in March. It was dedicated in March. We were able to work it out at a time when President Harrison was able to be in Taiwan. He had some other things happening in that part of the world. And so President Miao was the president of the China Evangelical Lutheran Church, and President Harrison together dedicated that test booklet. So that was very exciting.
Yeah. And what is what is that book doing now? You have requests for more printing in that book. Is that correct?
Yes. We had 500 books printed, which seems like a ridiculously large number because congregations are small. And, we're talking about we need 10 hymnals for this congregation and we need 20 for that. It's very small numbers, but it's really not possible to get a good price unless you go at least 500. So we did the 500, and we have been blown away by the requests that have come in from not just Taiwan and a few from mainland China, including the Wisconsin Synod churches that are in mainland China, but also in Australia and Sweden and Canada and the North American Lutheran Church here in this country asked if they could get some. So anyway, these 500 copies have just gone like the wind, and already we need to look at a second printing.
Wow, that is incredible. Thanks be to God for that.
Yeah.
And are we running short on time?
3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. Oh, so much still to talk about.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit more about your time in Asia. I know recently you went on a teaching tour. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. In fact, my husband got to come along with me, and we did that for a couple of reasons. There's so much need for just teaching on liturgy and on hymns in Southeast Asia. And my husband is a music professor. He's so in places like India and Sri Lanka, a doctorate in music is instant respect. So he could come in as a professor, and it would be they would take his teaching very well. Plus, there's enough confusion about women's ordination that it would not be a good idea for me to come in and teach. But if he could teach, and then I could assist him, then we could it can serve a double purpose. And so we taught in Taiwan, India, Sri Lanka, and Indonesia on history of liturgy. We went on a 5-week trip there, and it was especially a blessing for me to get to go have my husband be along on that trip.
How fun to get to work together and to teach together. that's exciting when you have that opportunity to get to do something like that. What are some things that you learned while you were on that trip? I mean, I know you went to teach, but there are things that we always learn too when we're teaching.
Oh, absolutely. Even though I have a degree in music, I didn't realize so much until that the history of liturgy and the history of music are so closely connected, because back in time when music was first being written down, it was being written down by monks. So any history, especially of written music, is very tied up in the history of the church. And that's very cool, because it's like the secular history and the church history are very, very close to the same thing.
Outstanding. Anything else that you got to learn or see, or people you got to meet while traveling?
Anytime I take these trips, it's humbling to meet faithful, strong Lutherans in so many parts of the world, even where there is persecution happening. And so I just learn again to be thankful to God for his steadfastness in blessing the church all over the world, no matter what the circumstances.
Well, thanks be to God. We have just under a minute left. Any other projects that you're starting on, or what's next?
I've been working in Indonesia. That hymnal project is moving along quite well. I would expect, if we can keep the momentum going, I would expect that hymnal to be finished in 2021. And then I also think that the teaching trip in Southeast Asia was successful enough that we're going to look towards doing more teaching, and maybe not full-blown hymnals, but just some helping with getting some resources, liturgical resources, out to people.
Awesome.
So that's kind of the direction we're moving.
Deaconess Sandra Rhein, thank you so much for being our guest this morning on the Coffee Hour. Always great to hear an update on these hymnal projects.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm always glad to come and talk with you, and I love talking about these projects.
You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.